Sahana Vavatu Sahanau Bhunaktu Saha Viryankaravavahai Tejasvinavadhitamastu ma Vishavahai. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Samasta Jana Kalyani Niratam Karunamayam Namami Chinmayam Devam Satgurum Brahma Vidvaram. Chant the Dhyana Shloka. Antaryascha bahirvidhutatimiram Jyotirmayam shashvatam Sthanam prapya virajate vinamatam Ajnanamunmulayan Pashyan vishvamapidamullasatiyo Vishvasya pare paraha Tasmai Shri Ramanaya Loka Gurave Shokasya Hantre Namaha. Let's chant verses 1 to 4. I'll chant and then you repeat. If you don't have a book, please sit next to somebody who has a book. Karturajnaya prapyate phalam karma kim param karma tajjadam. Please repeat. Karturajnaya prapyate phalam karma kim param karma tajjadam. Kriti mahodadhau patana karanam Phalamashashvatam gati nirodhakam. Ishwararpitam nechaya kritam chittashodhakam mukti sadhakam. Kaya vangmanaha karyamuttamam pujanam japaschintanam kramat. Kaya vangmanaha karyamuttamam pujanam japaschintanam kramat. Okay, good. So we are in the topic of Bhakti Yoga. We're studying Upadesha Sara. We're on the topic of Bhakti Yoga. And 2 weeks ago, because we had a break in between, we had an introduction to Bhakti and we also talked a little bit about Puja. I hope you remember some of what we talked about. Yeah? So what is Bhakti Yoga? Bhakti Yoga means, yoga comes from the root word yuj. Something that unites us to the higher through bhakti or devotion. Why is bhakti so necessary, especially in this day and age? Because we have lost sight of who we are. Our true self is of the nature of Sat-Chit-Ananda. This will become clearer as we go into the Jnana Yoga section later on. But our true self is of the nature of existence, consciousness, bliss, Sat-Chit-Ananda. Because it's so subtle, very difficult for us to comprehend, our Rishi said, let us give everybody a form, something that they can hold on to, which resembles Sat-Chit-Ananda, which eventually they have to transcend. But because they cannot come into the formless now, let us give everybody a form to worship. Let's give everybody a form to worship so that they are able to establish themselves in some divinity. Otherwise, If somebody tells you, you are formless, existence, consciousness, bliss, and just know that, and you will be free, how many of us would be able to do that? Zero. Very, very few. It is very rare. So the rishis have given us a form, a name with attributes. And the idea is to go from ekarupa, one form, to anekarupa, to seeing that divinity in multiple forms, to vishwarupa, to seeing that divinity in all forms, to arupa, understanding that divinity is formless, and swarupa, finally understanding that the essence of Bhagavan and the essence of me are one and the same. This is the route that we have to take as bhaktas. As bhaktas. Bhakta means a devotee. So first thing that a devotee should do is establish a relationship with an Ishta Devata, which we talked about last time, a form of the divine who is very dear to us, naturally dear to us. Why is it important? Because it's very difficult to go to the formless. So establish a relationship with a form, and slowly, slowly, the vision behind that form begins to change. Now, the most beautiful thing happens when we establish a relationship with that form. We begin to become purer, more peaceful, more sattvic in our life. Now, how do we establish a relationship with this form in front of us? There are 3 sadhanas or methods prescribed. They are puja, japa, and chintanam. We saw puja last time. They become subtler and subtler. Puja utilizes body, speech, and mind. 3 things. Japa utilizes just speech and mind. And chintanam utilizes just the mind. So the spiritual practice or sadhana goes from puja to japa to chintanam. This is how we start. Some people might say, okay, I'm ready for chintanam or meditation. I can do that. Think again. Our senses are so extroverted, so outward going, that to even ground them to come within is very difficult. So it is recommended that we all start from puja. Get back to the basics. Start from puja. And last time I explained the 16-step puja, how we worship. So today, a good amount of time will be spent in talking about japa. Okay, japa. So from puja, slowly, slowly we move into this sadhana called japa. How many of you have heard this term before, japa? Okay. So what is japa? Japa is the repetition of a mantra or a divine name, a name of God or goddess. So in our scriptures, there are different mantras for different forms of Bhagavan or Bhagavati. For Sri Rama, what is the mantra? Shri Ram, Jaya Jaya Ram, right? And we chant that. For Saraswati Devi, Om Shri Saraswatyai Namaha or Om Aim Saraswatyai Namaha. For Shiva, Om Namah Shivaya. For Hanuman, Om Shri Hanumate Namaha. For Durga, Om Shri Durgayai Namaha. Right? So these are some mantras which correspond to the different deities. Also, people can do japa on Gayatri mantra. You've all heard of the Gayatri mantra. Om Bhur Bhuva Swaha Tat Savitur Varenyam Bhargo Devasya Dhimahi Dhiyo Yo Na Prachodayat. When one does japa on something like the Gayatri mantra or Mahamrityunjaya mantra, it must be in that intonation. You can't do that Om Bhur Bhuva Swaha. No, that is a Vedic mantra. A Vedic mantra has to be pronounced in its proper intonation, like Gayatri mantra and Mahamrityunjaya mantra, right? So these are important things to keep in mind. Now, yes?
Could you expand on that just a little bit more?
Yeah.
The different ways to say it, what does that mean?
Right. So, see, there are things called Pauranic mantras. Mantras from our Puranas. Like Om Namah Shivaya, Shri Ram Jai Ram Jaya Jai Ram. These mantras, they need not be chanted in a certain intonation, because they're given as they are. They can be sung. So we sing it. They can be chanted loud, they can be chanted soft, they can be chanted in different harmonies. That's completely okay. But when we have something like the Gayatri mantra, that in the sound itself, there's a science behind that sound and why it's pronounced that way. So to get the full benefit of the mantra, it has to be pronounced the way it is written. So if you see Gayatri mantra, it is written with Uddata Anuddata. It's written with intonation to go down, intonation to go up. So when a mantra is written like that with specific intonations, it should be chanted like that. Because japa is actually very, very scientific. We think, oh yeah, chanting a name won't do anything, it's just a name. No, but there's a beautiful science to it. How many of you have heard of this person called Dr. Masaru Emoto? Anybody has heard of him? You should look him up. I'll send you also a YouTube clip after this. He is a Japanese doctor. He's no more now. And he did this beautiful experiment. What he did was, he took water droplets from different bodies of water and he froze the crystals. And when he froze the crystals, he studied how the crystals turned out. And in the bodies of water, which were very pure, very clean, the crystals were very beautiful looking. They formed very nicely. In the bodies of water that were very dirty, he formed the crystals and they were very, like, not proper form, not nice looking. So he did another experiment. He said, let me play music to the water. And when he played very beautiful, classical, soothing music, and he froze the crystals, how did the crystals turn out? Very wonderful looking. When he played heavy metal, quite violent music, how did the crystals turn out? They were like torn. They were wicked. Wicked. They were not nice looking. So he did this, a lot of these things he did. He went to bodies of water and they prayed over the water, and he took the sample of the crystals before and after, and it showed the difference of how the crystal bloomed. He even did this experiment with rice. There's a famous rice experiment where he puts grains of rice on glasses, and he labels one bottle, I love you, the other one, I hate you. And every day, to the one with love, he says, I love you, I love you, I love you. And the one that's hate, I hate you, I hate you, I hate you. And it makes an impact on the rice. Now just think about his experiment. Think about water. How much percent is our body water? 70%. So what does that tell us? Every single sound affects our body. Every single sound. If these sounds can affect a whole river, think of what a sound can do to your body. A prayer over a river changes its crystals. Soothing music over a river changes the formation of crystals. What do you think to soothing vibrations, what do you think they do to our body? They change the whole formation of our body. the whole formation of the body and the whole formation of the mind. This is mantra. This is japa. So the one who chants japa, that divine name, they vibrate on a whole different wavelength. They're not going to vibrate like you and I. They're going to vibrate in a whole different wavelength, and when you're around them, you will feel it because they've been chanting that name. You will feel it in every single part of them. Yeah?
Thank you, Hariom. Japa, does that have to be established words, or could it be something custom that comes naturally?
That's a very good question, right? Does it have to be established words, or can it be something natural? So because it's very, very powerful, as I said, it has to come from a powerful source. We don't do japa on chair, 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 table, 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 table. No. That mantra cannot be something that we make up. It's not something we make up. And it cannot be an affirmation statement. I'm beautiful, I'm bold, I'm strong, I'm amazing. This is not japa. And this is contrary to our philosophy. At a certain point in time, yes, a child will have to gain some confidence. I can do it, I am great. But you're cutting Bhagavan out of the picture. It's because of Bhagavan's grace that I'm able to do. It's because of Bhagavan's grace that I'm able to shine. It's because of Bhagavan's grace that I'm able to have strength. You see the difference? When I say I am strong, that is full of ego. But when I say Om Namah Shivaya, it is with Shiva's grace that I have strength. That is bereft of ego. And that's what we're trying to do in spirituality. We're trying to remove the ego, not boost it. So because japa is so powerful, it has to come from a powerful source, like our scriptures. It cannot come by our own means, or it cannot be something that we make up. In this japa, so there are two ways. Some people are initiated to a japa mantra. So sometimes they meet a guru and they get initiated into a mantra and they take that as their mantra. Sometimes Bhagavan or Bhagavati herself will come to you and say, you chant my name. Sometimes that form of Bhagavan or Bhagavati draws you so much that you just want to chant their name. That means Bhagavan has blessed you. You please chant that. Chant that. And chant it so that every single portion of your being is chanting it. So that is called japa. Our great saints and sages have chanted japa so fully that, as I said, you felt Bhagavan when you were in their presence. Like Samartha Ramdas ji, he vibrated Rama. When you went near him, he wasn't Samartha Ramdas, he was Rama. When you went near Surdas, you went near Krishna. There's this female saint called Janabai. Anybody heard of her? She used to worship Vithala. This is another form of Bhagavan Krishna. She worshipped Vithala so much that you could feel Vithala in the objects she had. There's a story that one day they wanted to find out the glory of Saint Janabai. So they came to visit her, but she was arguing with another lady. She was arguing with another lady because she made some cow dung cakes and she put them to dry, and the other lady made cow dung cakes and put them to dry, and they were fighting over whose cow dung cakes are whose. And this man said, I came to see a saint, but she's in this little petty argument. Is she truly a saint? I don't know who she is. And then he said, but let me see. And he said, excuse me, I came to meet Janabai. May I know who she is? And Janabai said, I am Janabai. And he said, what is all this fuss about? So Janabai said, she's saying that these are her cow dung cakes, but I've put them out. And he said, okay, how will you prove it? She said, very simple. You take that cow dung cake and put it in your ear. And I guarantee you, you will hear the name of Vitthala, Vitthala, Vitthala. And you'll know that cow dung cake is mine. So he said, okay. He put it in his ear and he heard Vitthala, Vitthala, Vitthala. And he said, this is a saint. This is a saint. So that is how deep their mantras have taken hold of them. And we might think that this japa is so hard. Huh? It is not actually. Swami Chinmayananda ji writes that the one who is able to chant their mantra 100,000 times, the mantra will start to have an effect on them. Now, I know what you're thinking. 100,000 times, well, you don't know my life, okay? You don't know what's going on in my life. And let me tell you how simple this 100,000 times is. Let me tell you how simple. One mala is how many times? 108. So if every day you do 3 malas, how many times is that? 324, right? If you do 3 malas a day and if you do it the whole month, how many times is that? You can round it off, don't worry. How many times? About 10,000, 9,000, 10,000. If you do that for 12 months, how many times? Over 100,000. It just takes 1 year. Huh? That's all. It's not that, and 3 malas a day is nothing. It's 10-15 minutes, that's it. Depending on your mantra, it's just 10-15 minutes. That's it. And imagine the profound effect that it will have on you. Now what do people say? I don't have time. Who is a fool? The one who has no time for japa. Why? Well, that's the biggest fool. Because I'll tell you a story and I'll tell you why. There was a man and he wanted to chop a tree. Huh? And how was he chopping a tree? With a blunt axe. He had a blunt axe and he was chopping the tree. Now how long did it take him? Whole day. So his boss said, what happened? Why did you take so long? He said, oh, my axe was blunt. The boss said, you fool, why don't you just sharpen your axe? And he was like, oh yeah. So the next day, he sharpened his axe. And how long did it take him to chop the tree? 20 minutes. Now who's a fool? Oh, I don't have time to do japa. Let me work with my dull mind. Let me do everything with my dull mind. And let it take so long. Let me keep delaying and procrastinating and let me be so inefficient in my whole day. Who's a wise person? Let me sit for japa 10-15 minutes and you will see, guaranteed, everything takes a shorter amount of time. Everybody becomes more efficient in what they're supposed to do because japa has that power. So the biggest fool is the one who says, I don't have to do japa, I don't have time to do japa, I don't have time to sharpen my mind and make myself more efficient. Let me be blunt. Let me be dull. The effect of japa is so profound that it does these 3 things. One is, it reduces the quantity of thoughts. The first effect of japa reduces the quantity of thoughts. Second effect of japa it increases the quality of thoughts. Third effect of japa, it turns or changes the direction of thoughts. Okay? 3 things. We'll see one by one. The quantity of thoughts. Now just think, how fast is our mind moving nowadays? Too fast. Too fast. It's come to a point that we're actually not able to read. I'm not kidding. If there's a full page of words, how many of you have the power to read that word by word? Nobody. I'm not joking. We cannot read one page. It has to have some bold, some highlight, some graphic, something there to keep our eyes there, because that's how weak we've become. If something is static, for how long can it hold our attention? Not very long. It has to move after a while. That's why everything is moving right now. I find it so distracting. I'm on the subway. Before, everything was so nice and static. Now everything is moving and I just end up closing my eyes because I long for stillness. But all I'm seeing is movement. So our minds have become too fast, too quick. It is thinking too fast. So japa has the ability to slow down the mind so we can think clearly and gather all of the rays of thoughts in one direction. The other thing that's been happening with our minds is we become so distracted. It's very hard to focus. There's so many distractions. There is an alarm, there's a beep, there's a WhatsApp, there's an update, there's this, there's a that. And we're so addicted that we have to check. Why do you have to check? Who told you have to check? What is so urgent that we have to check all the time, all the time, all the time? So we have lost that capacity to just focus on one thing at one time. So japa helps us with that. And because it makes us focus on one thing at one time, it makes us super efficient. That we're able to actually get something done and see it through. We don't drag, oh, should I do this? Oh, later, oh, let me do it. We don't swing. We just do it. And the mind is so dull that it misses things. So many errors. Once you send something out, then there's so many errors in the thing. Sometimes you wonder, oh, did you read it actually? Because it loses its clarity. So japa gives us that sharpness of mind, makes it slower, more able to see things clearly, makes us more efficient. Once Swami Chinmayananda ji, his address book got lost. And he used to write names and addresses of people so that he could send them what we call a prasad pustika. Like after his talks, he would send out a written copy of the discourse to people's homes. His address book got lost. And so they asked him, what will you do now? He said, I'll just reproduce it. He remembered everyone's addresses and he wrote them down. Why? Japa. That power of japa and that power of brahmacharya. So it's not something to be underestimated. Yeah?
How long should each round of japa take?
I'll come to that. I'll finish this portion, then I'll come to the rounds. Yeah.
A related question. A lot of mind moving fast and distraction, I struggle with that. I suspect a lot of people do these days. One way of sometimes try to address it is to practice mindfulness through some of the apps like Headspace. People may be familiar with that. How does japa differ from the concept of mindfulness or meditation? Is it another form of it? Is it more transcendental?
Yeah, very good question. And once I go through this thought process, then we'll understand. So, next benefit of japa, I said, is quality of thoughts, right? Because we are doing japa on a divine mantra or invoking a deity, what happens is we start to become like that deity. We all know that phrase, as you think, you become. Right? And I think there's some book that's called 10,000 Habits or 10,000 Hours to Make a Habit. There was some book like that, right? So whatever we keep repeating in our minds, that will actually manifest. It will come. So imagine if somebody keeps thinking about Saraswati Devi, the wisdom that will come, the creativity, the glory, the virtue that will come to that being will be immense. This is what happened to Kalidasa. He couldn't really, say anything. He was so dumb, he was so dull. But when he did japa on Devi, he became so wise. And he became one of the best poets in our history. So the quality of the mind gets completely transformed with japa. And furthermore, the direction of thoughts. So right now, where is the direction of our thoughts? Outside, all in the world. Japa has the ability to make our mind so quiet, so silent, that it gets ready, it makes the mind ready to turn within, to the source of thought, to the source of who you are. That is japa. That's the benefit of japa. So there's no sadhana or spiritual practice like japa. In the Bhagavad Gita, Lord Sri Krishna says, amongst all of the yajnas, forms of worship, I am japa. I am japa. Now, what's the difference between japa and this mindfulness and meditation? There's one key difference, because there's apps like Headspace, all of that. Somebody sent me that. I put it down. Why? Because key thing about japa is it builds a relationship with God. No app has the power to do this. And that's important. If we do not build a relationship with Bhagavan, then every sadhana is meaningless. Absolutely meaningless. In a deeper sense, japa means love. It's our time to bond with that divine being, with the Lord of our heart. And when we grow closer to Bhagavan, we will see a vast difference in our life. Last time in our talks, I had said that our first dharma is to be a seeker. I'm a seeker first, then I'm a parent. I'm a seeker first, then I'm a sibling. I'm a seeker first, then I'm a friend. Seeker first, devotee first, however you put it, when we have that attitude, our lives are very light. Because when I take myself to be a devotee first or a seeker first, what happens is I shift. I'm no longer an owner of anything, but I'm a caretaker. When I own a child, what's that like? Very controlling, very wanting the child to be a certain way, very anxious, very agitated, very watchful, helicoptering the child all the time. But when I understand that I actually belong to God, and everybody belongs to God, and this child is there, I am a caretaker. I'm not an owner, I'm a caretaker because everything belongs to God. Everything belongs to Bhagavan. What is my attitude? I'll do my best. But this child doesn't belong to me. This child has just come through me. And I'll do what I can, and the child should blossom in the way that they should, because they are God's child. They're not my child. Hmm? So you see the vast difference? It's like owning an apartment in New York City versus renting. Huh? When we're renting, we're so carefree. But when we're owning, we have to take care of every single thing because I own that apartment. Correct? You can feel the vast difference, right? But when you're renting, relaxed. When we go on vacation and we're renting a Airbnb or a hotel room, how relaxed are we? TV doesn't work, okay, it doesn't work, it's okay. The bed is, there's something wrong with the bed, it's okay. It's okay, we're just renting. If we own that bed, oh my goodness. Huh? So the way a devotee lives is, I don't own anything. Everything belongs to Bhagavan. Everything belongs to God. I'll help. I'll fix it. I'll do what I can. But hey, I don't own it. I don't own it. So when we use all these apps and everything, it might lessen the quantity of thoughts, might increase it also, make it more peaceful. We might go within also, but we miss out the most beautiful relationship in the world. That is the relationship with God. We miss out on that. There we should have FOMO. Not on missing out on a party or an event or whatever. There we should have FOMO. I missed out on my appointment with Bhagavan today. What I said last time, our calendars are so full. Appointment with this, appointment with that, appointment with this. Appointment with God. Anybody puts in the calendar? That's the most important appointment to have. If that appointment is not there, everything will get crushed. Yeah. So that is coming. So now how to do it? Now I hope you're sold on it. Now how to do it, right? So you can use a Japa mala. A mala like this. Everybody should get, if you don't have one, get one. Can be a Tulsi mala, a Rudraksha mala, get a mala. A mala has 108 beads, right? So use a mala and do it first. The verse will also come. Do it first loud. Do it loud. Then when you get used to it, you can start whispering the mantra. Then after whispering, you can start chanting in your mind. So when we first start, we should do it loud because that ensures that we are focused. Otherwise, sometimes if we start in the mind, mentally chanting, mind gets very distracted. If there's a lot of people around the house, then just do it in a soft voice or find a place to do it, right? So this is now practically how to do this japa. First thing is, set up an altar. That's very important. In the house, you have to have an altar of worship. That is a must-have, a must-have. And keep this altar of worship a place where you pray and don't do anything else. Nothing else should be done there. Don't do your japa in the kitchen or in the bedroom, no. Because every place has a vasana. It has an impression. So when you go to the kitchen, you're not hungry. What will you do? Open the fridge. Why? Because the minute you step in the kitchen, you think of food. Correct or not? And you can't help that because the kitchen has been the place for food. The minute you lie on your bed, what do you think about? Nobody thinks about getting to work or you sleep. You think about sleeping because you've been sleeping on that bed for a long time. So every place has a vasana, has an impression. So japa is not something that we can do just everywhere. And I mean, once we get the habit, we can do our mantra anytime, anywhere, no problem. But we have to have a solid practice at a certain place, at a certain time. So number one, set up a place for japa. Have the form of your Ishta Devata. in front of you where you can see your Ishta Devata, so that before you go into the japa practice, you can think about them and then go into it. Japa should be done at a certain time, preferably in the morning every day. When? Before the children wake up. Before the children wake up, you wake up. So because if the children wake up and you're doing your japa, it's not going to be japa. It's going to be like, oh, I wonder what they're doing now. I hear the footsteps. Oh, why are they doing this? Why? It's not going to be japa. It's going to be thinking about your children or your spouse. That's all it's going to be, right? So you have to wake up before your kids wake up. Otherwise, it's not going to be easy. It's going to be very hard. And then some people will say that, no, let me wait at night time. All the best. The house is so chaotic. Let me wait till when the kids go to sleep. You will feel so sleepy. You'll be doing your japa and you're falling asleep. Right? So the best time, morning time. Get up early. Get up early and do it. Take up the mala. Next week, probably I'll teach you how to hold the mala and everything. So next week, I won't teach you today because you don't have it.
I have a sample.
You have yeah, but everybody should have. So next week, bring a japa mala. Bring a japa mala so I can teach you how to hold it, how to turn it, how to chant. Bring a japa mala, hold that mala, and if you can do 2 or 3 rounds a day, that would be perfect. If you can do 1 to start with, fine. At least 1 is fine. If you can do 2 or 3, great. Ideal, aim for 3. To start with 1. Okay? This is how the practice has to be done. Yeah? So, yeah.
Can you talk about a practice of doing a japa mala versus doing other prayers like Hanuman Chalisa, which takes much longer but is powerful in itself?
It's very powerful, yeah. And that comes in the verse also. See, the sadhana gets subtle and subtle. Huh? So, chanting is very good. So, if one is chanting, that is good. Subtler than that is loud japa. Subtler than that is whispering japa, japa where we're just whispering. Subtler than that is mental japa or dhyana. So the idea is we have to progress to go to subtler and subtler sadhanas. If one is starting with Hanuman Chalisa and chanting that, keep doing that. That's fine. That's fine. Eventually then you can add little bit of japa. So, but the progression has to go from gross to a subtler form of sadhana. Right? Okay. Any other questions about japa?
Shubhani, what about Likita Japa?
Likita japa is also very good. It's very good, very healing. For our Chinmaya mission Upavan, our property, we had asked everybody to write Shri Ram, Jai Ram, Jai Jai Ram. Some of you had given books, I know, right? That's a very, very beautiful practice. Gurudev says it's like writing love letters to Bhagavan. So one can also do Likita Japa. In the night, that's a good thing to do. In the morning, you can take up a Japa Mala practice. In the evening, let us say, after your day, take up a notebook, write your Ishta Devata mantra. Write 108 times. Just write it. And just feel present. Just enjoy that. Don't rush to, I have to write 108. No, not like that. But enjoy it and write it. That will also bring a lot of calmness to the mind. Yeah.
When you talk about like the intonation with which you do things, do you also have to write in a particular script, or can you write in English?
Any language. Yeah. You can write in any language. Yeah. Whichever you're most comfortable with. Right. Any other questions about japa? Okay. So what I thought is maybe we will do a little bit of japa just to give you a teaser today. Is that okay? So I'll guide you through a japa practice. This will be a practice that we will do without the mala. I'm going to keep it very simple. And we're just going to do japa on Om. I'm going to keep that simple so that you can visualize whoever's your Ishta Devata. Everybody has their own Ishta Devata. You visualize whoever's your Ishta Devata. We do japa on Om. Short, brief japa, just so that you have a taste of what japa is supposed to be like. Then next week we will look at the mala, take a little bit of a deeper look at japa. Okay?